And so we asked the armorer if he wouldn't mind cutting.
This stuff down here is the Tommy mat. It's dry. This is what they use for their rugs. It's this rolled up, it's this bamboo that's tied together.
Okay.
After you hydrate it for 2 days, and let it soak up some water, it goes from that feeling to this feeling.
Well, that's got some meat to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't catch it.
So, in old Japan, if you came to me and asked me for a sword, we would talk about the height, the length, the girth, the curve of the blade, the balance of the blade, all that kind of stuff. Once we pick the price, you pay me about half up front, come back 3 to 6 months later. If I gave, when you came back, I'd give you your blade. Oh, like that. There we go. I give you the blade back. You get a feel for it, the balance of it. If you liked everything, we go outside. There'd be a convicted felon between 2 trees. You cut up the convicted felon to your heart's desire. Yeah. Just for grins.
Shines and giggles.
We went inside, we take the blade apart, I'd show you how to clean it, I'd tell you all about the stuff it took to put the blade together. When that was done, we go outside and look at the body. If it was a nice, smooth, clean cut, it was considered a good sword. You pay me the other half of the money, and then from then on, if somebody asks you, would you get such a great blade, you come see me because I make good stuff. I say there's a flip side to that. We go outside, the bone is broken, the muscle's ripped, the skin is torn. You as the warrior obviously would never screw up, so I made a bad blade. You would reject the blade, and I was to immediately shove it through my heart, right then and there, without a moment's hesitation. They called it imperial quality control. They didn't make crap. Well, not long into history, the Portuguese came to Japan. And when the Portuguese came to Japan, they brought Christianity with them. And once they converted the emperor said, no more cutting up people, that's against God. So the old guys who made the blades went to the old warriors and said, what is like cutting up a human being? We need an analog. What they figured out was that a 1-inch piece of hemp rope hanging loose out of a tree with no weight is about the same as your upper arm between the elbow and the shoulder. Take the bamboo rugs, soak them in water for 2 days, and one of them is your upper thigh through the femur. If you could do 2 at once, it was the average Japanese fella through the waist. If you could do 4, it was shoulder to hips, 6 was head to pelvis. So if you ever heard of somebody who had a body blade, that meant that they could cut one body completely in half, top to bottom, or 6 mats. So, same rules applied. When you cut, it had to be a smooth, clean cut all the way through. There's 3 parts to this. The first part is that your hands have to pick the angle you want to hit at. If I want to go head to pelvis, you keep the hands directly in front of you and go straight up and down. If you want to do the whole Darth Maul thing, lay the blade flat, go side to side, which is actually an extremely hard cut to do. My favorite is the shoulder to hip socket. You get all the good bits, only got to deal with what you want. So that's my favorite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in this side of the mat, here above the rubber band, and come out here. So when you line up with your target, if you've ever watched the movies when people fight, their swords are all hitting, but they're not touching each other. It's because actors are expensive. In real combat, me and you wouldn't fight until my sword could go through your spine, out the back, if we swung. So that would be, if this is my target, we would start our fight at about 5 feet. Okay? You put your right foot forward if you're right-handed. Bend your knees above your toes. So when you look down, you can't see your toes. The reason for that is if he starts to swing at me, I can step back and I can advance and don't have to move my foot and lose my footing. If I'm standing there like this and my knee is straight and we're gonna fight, all he has to do is step on my front and he's gonna snap my leg, okay? So keep your knee over your toes. Take your hands are gonna pick that angle. So if you look at my blade's lined up to go in here and out there, right? as I swing, I'm going to stay at this angle the whole distance. So what that means is the blade's going to come up, the blade's going to go down, and it's always going to stay at that angle. The wrists are going to stay at that angle. If I let my wrist bend, my blade hits the ground. I'm not defended, right? What the hell are you doing?
Your hands got hung on the knife sheath. I was saving you.
All right, try that again. What was that? All right, never mind. As you bring the blade forward, you're going to try and put your left hand to your left hip. So you're going to come up to here, swing, and stop. And you want to stop with the blade flat with the ground. Like I said, if you let it go forward, you're not defended. If you bring it to here and stop, and I've missed you and you come charging at me, now I can thrust forward with my left hip and my left foot and we can continue the fight. So, what this looks like is this. You line up with your target, get to the point where your target's going to be, bring the blade back to about here, and as you swing, you're going to swing, turn at the waist, and stop your hand, all in one motion. You ready?
Wow.
And this is what you want to feel. Even against the grain, it's perfectly smooth.
Wow.
Now in old Japan, when they would swing a blade, they did not thrust at you like Europeans did.
That's
Their
crazy.
blades they broke at about 29 foot-pounds per square inch. So what they did when they learned to swing is they learned to swing and go hit and drag the blade down your body. If you look at my blade, you can see the wet spot on my blade right here, right?
Yeah.
That wet spot is exactly as wide as that mat, which means that my blade is sharp and strong enough that I literally shoved it through your leg and took it off. It is quite tasty.
That's fun. Wow. Amazing.
That's what we do. Like I said, this company has every single world record in Japanese mat cutting on the planet. I personally have done 6 with a knife that's less than 18 inches. My record for a standard size katana is 20, and my overall record with something this size is 26.
Wow. That's